Hi, how you doing? You ready for episode 8? What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dustin Apple, and this is a 1652 jet tunnel conversion. That's right. You ready to build some lids? I am. Now up here in the front, as you remember, fuel cell, and then this weird area right here that goes all the way to the floor, and then up here is going to be the driest part of the boat. I bought this from Cabela's about 2005, and I put it in an old boat, and I don't own that old boat anymore. And since this was like from one of my very first builds, I thought it'd be kind of nostalgic to kind of throw it in this one. And it just so happens that it will fit perfectly right here in the front deck. Now the back is a little bit more complex. Let's take a walk back here and check it out. You can see we have one giant lid there. It's actually 42 inches long. And then we've separated the back into 4 sections. Instead of having one giant lid back there, you got to think you're either going to reach this from the side or the back to be able to reach down there to put a plug in. And well, I salvaged the original rear pan and made it French in around the tunnel. Everything maintained its same height there. And then I went ahead and I put a pan down inside the seat, making for the floor to be flat, right? Not just open to the bottom. That's going to be raised up 2.5 inches off the floor. Should be fairly dry. So now we have to make frames, lids, to be able to drain and not just go right inside the boat. They have to drain to the bottom of the boat. Oh, and you can see I have a seat base kind of mounted right in the center there. It might be back a little bit too far, but at least you can turn around and still have your feet on the top deck. So you can see I've still been chipping away at that foam. That foam, just like I seen this piece that I missed the other day, is still sticking in there. So as far as frames go, I have a very special extrusion for lids, okay? And well, there's only a couple places in the country you can get that, and well, I'm lucky enough to be able to have access to it. So let's bring some of this out. You can see it's got a channel here on the top for your lid to go, and then the frame goes out on the top of the boat. But I just put a brand new blade in the chop saw. I get asked all the time, what blades do you use? It looks like you cut aluminum really well. These are Hercules blades from Harbor Freight, and you want to get the non-ferrous ones. They used to say non-ferrous on them. Now they say aluminum, brass, copper, laminate. But anyway, the more teeth, the better. See 96 teeth on a 12-inch blade, and that's going to buzz through that like butter. So let's set up a chop saw and start cutting out frame pieces, and then we'll take it over to the jig table and then start welding up frames. Okay, 4 of those, 2 of those, and 2 of those. Well, we're about halfway done. We got everything framed out, even our corner pieces here. And now I have to go in, weld that base frame in to the structure. And then I definitely am going to take these over and TIG weld the corners, make them all fancy. I just MIG welded them on the back side, and that's strong enough, but I want to make sure that it's nice and clean. I probably will run turf right over top of this, right to the edge, so it's not like you're going to see it anyway. But I just want to take the added step. And then there's some little tiny things, like right in here, where I can wash this out with a TIG and make sure that's nice and low. Now, these corners, I want to put drains in to be able to drain them over to the main compartment. And then I definitely have to put a subfloor in here on the sides. I'm probably going to build these sides up to where they're only 8 inches deep or so. Probably put a phone charger in there or something. That side over there, I've already decided I'm gonna put my batteries here, my charger, and then I'll run a plug-in port out that side, and then my my battery shutoffs I'll have over here in this one. That way I can just open one small compartment from the outside of the boat, mount everything right here on this wall, just reach in, touch them all, and should be good. So another thing that I've not talked about is this back wall. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm worried about. First of all, running power to the front of the boat. I've already kind of dove into it a little bit. Now, these ribs are big enough where I can run control cables and my steering cable, but I can only get to this one. I can't get to that one because that one is right out here in line with that, and then there'd be a hole out there. I'm all right with drilling a hole right here to be able to run a cable in, but I don't want to separate my batteries. I want to have the rest of that for battery storage. So I still have to run my control cables, which more than likely are going to be run through the side rib, and then I still have to run my electrical. The only other thing I could do is come up underneath here and weld an angle or a shelf, so to speak, basically make a wire tray all the way up through there. And I may actually do that because that would serve two purposes. Obviously hiding the wires and keeping them easily maintained, but it would also give me a little bit of an angle on this inside because I'm going to put strip lights in here. So if I have a piece of angle down here, like say 45 degrees down, then that would take those rope lights and point them down in the bottom of the boat. I think I will do that, even though I have to do it on both sides and I need 10 foot on either side to do it. So what do you think? Is it worth it? Obviously it's my boat, right? But we have to figure out what works best for this scenario. Obviously I have time, I have the materials, so taking another couple hours and welding in a piece of angle up underneath on both ribs will give me the ability to run wires down both sides and give me the ability to point my rope lights in the exact direction that I want them. I don't want them blinding me, so I don't want them on the facing up, right? Because this actually angles up. So if I put them underneath there, then they're shining out in the boat and up. Or if I put them up underneath there, then they're shining down on the side of the boat and they don't really reach the floor. So if I get them at that right angle, maybe. So y'all thought that console was weird? Wait till you see this. So right here on this corner, you see I got me a big hole. Well, I got a problem. Sorry, I got a problem. I have to mount bilge pump holes, right? But as you can see, there's no room here, and then this gunnel actually comes down about half of that distance, so there's no room in there. And then if I mount them underneath that, then it's like half the height of the boat, possibly underneath the water line. Then there's always the transom. I don't want to drill holes in my transom. I could obviously make a bracket that goes right here, and I thought about that. And then I looked down where the bilge pump needs to sit, and it would be right over top of that. I don't know how many of you have routed bilge pump hoses, but they don't just go right where you want them to. No, they have to kind of arc and you got to manipulate them a little bit. But if they were to go through this firewall and up the side of the boat, they'd come out right here real easy. Well, how am I going to make that work? Well, I also have something else that I was going to mount in the back of the boat. If you remember these from last week's episode. And I couldn't figure out where I wanted to mount these. And obviously that is just kind of like, yeah, high school shit, right? Just throw it on there wherever it makes sense, and that's not it. I wanted to mount it over here on the top of the transom, and then I got to thinking about where's the outboard going to sit, where's the cables going to run, where's all that going to happen? And then I remembered you're mounting shallow water anchors here too. You don't have room there to do that because then you're just shining them right into the shallow water anchor. The further out I can get them, the better off it'll be, and then it hit me. What if you just make a support bracket that protects that? Because I'm always worried about hitting limbs. You guys bowfish, you know what I'm talking about. When you're up there in the front of the boat, the back of the boat kind of gets treated like a red-headed stepchild. So as much as I like these, I want to be able to keep them. So I mounted a deflection plate to be able to mount it right here. That way, if anything runs down the gunnel, it hits this sharp corner deflection plate and goes up, protecting the light. To go along with that, I put a plate on the back of it, and voila, Bob's your uncle. Put that right there, just like that. And yes, it looks a little funky, looks a little weird, until you get back here and you realize that, man, it's all one unit now. Anyway, that's how my head works. And I kind of made this opposite of that, or vice versa, you know, to make it look like it's not something that you just slapped on there with a few rivets. Yeah, something else. Check this out. You know, I told you the other day that we were going to do sorry, I don't have that in there yet, but yeah, we're going to mount a floor pan in there. Look at that. Look at the fitment on that, Jones. What do you think? And it's about 8 inches deep. I got the other side fit too. I do have to weld those. Those are holes where they put spray foam in, and I'm not using that hole. So yeah, now we can mount our bilge pump here, drill a hole through that, and then it'll come up back in here. And as you can see, we tapered this back corner of the pan. Sorry for the camera work, guys. I'm a little excited. But it'll come up right back behind here. And then we already got our holes drilled all the way through there. I like it. We already welded our pans on that. Oh, and as far as drilling holes goes, I talked myself into drilling holes because 2 control cables will slide right in there. And if you look where that comes out, right here in line with the outboard and going over the top down to the jet. So yeah, it'll work just fine. That will be my steering cable that will go right up that tray and then loop around and come out that hole right into the console. Then I got covering that. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna run all my electrical through that. And I forgot one very important thing. You know that other cable? You know the one that's got the key on it? Well, I'm still gonna have to run that up underneath the gunnel because I don't have room to run it anywhere else. Unless I completely unwire it from the 703 control box and still be able to fit it down that hole. I don't think that's gonna happen. I got all my framing done. I thought I had the camera set up on hyperlapse, and then now I can't find that footage. No big deal. Y'all know what me working looks like. So I put my isolation plate in here. So this is all one firewall now, and then that strengthens up my 1.5 inches. And then I boxed out my lid, and that is ready for skin. I did go ahead and take the time to mark. This is 1/4 inch plate where these 5-inch wide ones are, there and there. And I probably better go ahead and drill those holes for my Ulterra. And that box right there, that's a 40-pound winch. I didn't buy the Minn Kota one, but y'all know what a deckhand 40 is? A Minn Kota deckhand 40? Things are like $300 some now. Good Lord, last time I bought one, it was like $200. But anyway, Chineseium's got me covered. That right there was $115 on the Amazon. And I've installed a couple of those. They look just as good as anything else. So, yeah, then I got a 30-pound anchor coming too, which should hold a 16-foot boat in almost any water that I'm going to be putting it in. That request for sponsorship in the last video may actually be coming true. After a little contact from yesterday, there's discussion of it. So hopefully we'll see what happens. Now, no details on that yet, but these back lids won't have any drain holes, because I'm actually going to drill holes into them and let them drain into the floor. Yes, it's kind of redundant to go ahead and make, water catching trays, but the whole back deck already had water catching trays. So the 2 that aren't going to catch water, they kind of need to look the same. But anyway, like here's our big lid. You see we've already got it broke. And on the back here, you can see that we've got 2 drain tubes, one on either side. And all that's going to do, I'm going to fit that with a hose and be able to stuff that down in the bottom of the boat past my pans and keep things that are inside the boat from getting too wet. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Doing a little sanding and doing a little bending of the lids, and then we get to mount the lid frames and start prepping for paint. I don't like the way that even rolls off my tongue. doing, kids? Like none of you leave a comment anymore. Let me know. Saturday night fit check. As usual, we wrap this up on a Saturday night, then we post it on Sunday afternoon. We're making our little J channels right now, and those are going to go right underneath here. Something like that. That way we can run fuel line on this side and our remote wiring on that side. Let's just do a walk around and wrap up episode 8. What do you think? So the front skin, pretty happy with. I've only got 5 or 6 countersunk rivets in there. Love how this turned out. Just tall enough to get your fingers on. By the time I turf that, it's going to be micro. Got that 3/4 pin seat base located, and then all this is fully welded for this skin. We fully welded and countersunk our lid, as well as you might notice that I went ahead and filled that hole in because it was a little bit too far this way. And then I went to move it and it got worse, so I just went ahead and welded it back, and we will pop lids at a later date. Then I went ahead and sanded, cut all the holes in the console. This is our big speaker, if you've forgotten. And then I went ahead and made sure that we've got a nice trim all the way around there because I'm going to put rubber molding around that speaker. Located our helm, got enough for, see, those are 4 switch panel things. So we got 8 switches altogether, and then fuel sending unit. I can't show you the fuel sending unit, but we welded that in the fuel cell, which is right there. You can see we've got just gravity fed. We popped our hole there. A little bit about that, I was thinking about this, right? That I had that on another boat. Well, I got to thinking, man, you got another lid that's sitting over there on the back of a truck bed, and this thing is literally 20 years old. With a little bit of paint and a little bit of love, it's going to go right underneath that console, which I know some of you are going to think that's a little weird. I'm a little weird. Deal with it. Back here, like this is Instagram worthy back here, in my opinion, maybe not yours. Loving that, boss. Loving that. That will get 2 latches, and then everything else back here will be single latches. I've never done hinges on, I have before, but it wasn't that steep. And I had to make those gaps. Look at that corner down there. Like that swings out so far. I had to make these gaps really big. But hey, it works, and it will serve its purpose. And then we welded these in. We cut a notch in there. I don't know if that notch is big enough or not, but boy, I tell you what, if you don't want to put that over top of your bed, something's wrong with you. I can't wait to get this thing painted and just spray in water. Now you can see my vision as far as console goes, how I wanted it all to work out. Coming along. Seat base. We got that painted. That is a 3/4 pin seat base in a piece of 3/16 steel. And it will saddle over top of 2 ribs. You can see where it used to be. Somebody else made it, but we're going to move it back here. That will give me enough support for a leaning post, more or less. Probably not a sitting post because you can see it's fairly tall. But I like how it's working out. Slow pan one more time. Yeah, buddy. So as we wrap up episode 8, I would like to remind you to click the share button, and then this button right here that's my logo. Make sure that you subscribe. Episode 9, we're going to be going on a road trip because we have sponsorships now. And we're going to be taking this to Iowa for some custom CNC routed turf. Come on with it. Got all kinds of things. UPS man is my best friend. He's here every single day. And tonight, I have to finish my wire tracks, and then tomorrow we have to put the floor in this, and then find a trailer roadworthy of a 6-hour trip. That's right. And if you are fans of my TikTok, maybe you are also fans of Outdoors with Overtime, Mr. Corey Anderson, the world champion Bellator MMA fighter. Him and I are going to go on a Kentucky archery turkey hunt. So somewhere between now and Saturday, I have to build arrows, set up a bow, and sight that in, and shift gears on the fly because I ain't got time to rest. You know how we do around here. Y'all stay safe, shoot straight, shoot off, and don't forget to wear the personal flotation devices and tree stand harnesses. As always, follow that hashtag White River Rambo, and I'll see y'all right here on the next one. Thanks for the shares, boys.